All right, team, we're going to get started with day 6 now, still in chapter 2. Our do now asks, who do you think handled the book situation better, Miss Crocker or Mama, and what makes you think that? So go back in the text if you need to. Pause the video, write one sentence answering that question. See if you can include text evidence. Our learning target today, it says, I can use background knowledge about a setting to understand why events in a story happen. So remember our background knowledge using that article, specifically in terms of our setting, we're looking at Reconstruction South. Understand why, remember anytime we see why, we're looking for the reason events in a story take place. So looking at the events or what happens. We're going to start by reading pages 37 to 44. While you're reading those pages, I want you to look for details about why Mr. Morrison lost his job. Quick reminder, Mr. Morrison came home with Papa in what you read last. So go ahead and pause the video. Answer the literal question, who did Mr. Morrison get in a fight with? And annotate for details about why Mr. Morrison lost his job. Once you're finished reading and answering that first question, go ahead and hit play again and we'll continue working. All right, so our literal question said, who did Mr. Morrison get in a fight with? So we need to go to our book, see if you can find the pages with that. And we'll see on page 37 in the text, it does say, he got into a fight with some men at his job and beat them up pretty badly. Specifically, we've also got a few more details than that though. So we see Mr. Morrison, make sure we are writing in complete sentences, got into a fight with white men at work. So the who and the where, make sure we're including both of those. So then our CTQ at 1 says, why is it important? Mr. Morrison says that he fought with white men. So when we're looking at why is it important, this is where we're bringing in our background knowledge on the Reconstruction South. So think about what do we know is true about life in Reconstruction South for a black man? Why would it be important that he's fighting with white men at work? So as we're reading factually, we see it says he was fired. Mama asks whose fault was the fight, and he responds back, I'd say theirs. She then asks, did the other man also get fired? And he says no, and then he says they were white. Why does he include this detail, they were white, to explain that they did not get fired? Why do you think they did not get fired? So we have a few facts here based off what we've read. They started the fight. Mr. Morrison says it was their fault. We learned that they were white men. So think about, based on what we know, whose fault is it and why? Why does it matter that they were in the Reconstruction South? And what does this tell us about the times, about what's going on in Reconstruction South, what's happening there? At this time, pause the video and answer this question with 2 pieces of text evidence. Once you're finished, continue playing and we'll take a look at our next CTQ question. Excellent, guys. So we're going to do just a little bit more reading. We're going to look through pages 45 through 49 to answer the following question. Our next question says, why is it important that Jeremy Sims doesn't ride the bus and walks to school with a Logan sometimes? What's this show us about Jeremy? So we've got 2 questions here. So why is it important, again, looking at our setting, our factual, historical setting, that Jeremy Sims doesn't ride the bus and walks to school with the Logans instead? So what do we now know about Jeremy Sims? Remember, he is their white neighbor. So when you're looking at these, think about why is it important? He doesn't ride the bus and he walks with the Logans sometimes. That's the first part of the question. The second one, what's this show us about Jeremy? So what do we learn by his actions? What's it teach us about him? Oh, forgot my S. All right, so we've got 2 parts to this. 1, why is it important based off the fact that Jeremy is white and they live in the Reconstruction South, that he doesn't ride the bus and he walks to school with the Logans? Then we need to ask ourselves, what does this teach us or tell us about Jeremy? What do we learn about him? So let's go into our book, see if you can find where this happens. They're walking to school again. This is actually going to take us into chapter 3 for these pages, 45 through 59. So looking through page 45, mostly they're still at home, so this isn't really going to help me too much with them walking to school, so I'm going to keep looking. Okay, page 46, they are walking to school now. Okay, let's think about what's happening here. It's a normal day walking to school, so that means the school bus is coming. And remember, anytime the school bus comes, they have to get out of its way because the school bus, as we learned before, does not slow down for them. It actually sometimes will intentionally come after them. So they're constantly on the lookout for the school bus. So right here, when we see, finally the bus was less than 50 feet behind us. It veered dangerously close to the right edge of the road where we were running, forcing us to attempt to jump the bank. But all of us fell short and landed in the slime. So let's think about this. This was not an accident. So I wrote down the driver's response was a little bit racist and very cruel. Keep in mind, this is an adult driving a bus and almost aiming for some children. So think about, what's this show us about them? Think about the responses of the kids on the bus too. It's not just the bus driver that's acting this way. So based on all that, when we get to page 49 and Jeremy shows up, it says, Jeremy spied us from the high perch on the forest path. He ran hastily down and joined us. So he's running, and then he's got his face lighting into a friendly grin, but no one spoke to him. So think Jeremy, plus or minus right now, others, plus or minus right now. So he is grinning, he's saying hi. So how's he feeling right now? Nobody answered him. Nobody spoke to him. So then it says the smile faded, noticing the color, smud-covered clothing. So Jeremy knows something's wrong. But Stacy then responds, why are you always hanging around with us? Why don't you leave us alone? So again, and his he's saying coldly. So again, think, are the others feeling positive or negative about him right now? So then it says, Jeremy grew even more pale. Because I likes y'all, he stammered. Then he whispered, was it the bus again? So based off what we're seeing here, Jeremy says, because I likes y'all. Does he care about race? Does he act the same as the others? Then as it goes down, nobody answered. He looked at us hopefully, hoping they might say goodbye. But nobody did. So then it says, Cassie looked back at him, standing alone in the middle of the crossing. It looked as if the world itself was slung around his neck. So Cassie's kind of realizing something here. It says, it was only then I realized Jeremy never rode the bus, no matter how bad the weather. So Jeremy never rides the bus with the other kids. Why not? Is Jeremy the same or different from the driver and the kids on the bus? Is he acting the same way towards the Logan kids and TJ? And when we're thinking about this, what does Jeremy choose to do? He chooses to walk to school and not ride the bus. Why does he choose that? What's he want when he's walking to school? What's he hoping for? What's his reason for walking? Because he could be riding the bus. Why does he choose not to? So based on that tells us, why is it important that he decides not to ride the bus and that he walks with the Logans? What do we learn about Jeremy because he acts this way? Pause the video, answer this question. If you have any questions, please reach out just like normal. Really strong job today, guys.